Hey everyone, I am back with another tutorial video. This time I wanted to talk about the dolphin mechanics and pretty much the majority of Forbidden Valley. I don't think I'm going to be going over the beginning portion where you actually do play as Wraith, because it's only like a little over 12, 13 seconds done well, and it's very short because I primarily wanted to focus on the dolphin stuff, since I see some people kind of maybe don't fully understand the breadth of movement that you can do as a dolphin. So I wanted to make this video to go over the mechanics of how the dolphin moves, and then how to basically do all the tricks in this level, and how with good movement, they become a lot easier to do. So the first thing I'm going to go over is basic dolphin movement. So when I hold forward, and I'm not going over any surfaces or anything like that, you can see I'm at a pretty steady 540 kilometers an hour. In the very beginning, we used to think that this was just the fastest way to move as the dolphin, before we understood how jumping plays a part. If you also, as you turn, you gain a little bit of speed, but still going in a absolutely straight line is what would, be the fastest if you couldn't jump or anything like that. So then, since we have jumping, obviously, if we just jump in place over and over like this in a straight line, the speedometer goes up a lot, but our actual forward speed does not move forward very much at all. In fact, it is actually slower to just keep jumping like this over and over than it is to just simply hold forward into the ground. Because I think it's the air friction or whatever slows you down as you go through the air. So even though as you're falling, you can see that the speedometer goes up quite a bit, you're not actually going forward all that fast. However, thanks to Soulmass taking a look at this game early on, we were able to figure out that through what they were able to find was the barrel roll animation made it seem like just doing that kind of unlocked your speed a little bit. So if you just did barrel rolls over and over, which admittedly is a bit harder to do on mouse and keyboard, but you kind of went a little further, especially if you chained it over and over. And this was the first iteration of what we call scrubbing, essentially, is doing this barrel roll over and over. However, it's definitely not where it ends in terms of the actual mechanics of the dolphin. This is only scratching the surface. The dolphin doing a barrel roll does help significantly, and I'll demonstrate that here shortly, but the barrel roll alone is not going to give you the speed that you need. One very, very key aspect of moving as the dolphin is also holding forward and left or right. So you don't want to completely, because if I jump and I immediately hold to the left, I lose all my speed. If I jump and immediately hold to the right, I lose all my speed. If I jump and hold forward, it's some speed, but it's not a whole lot. And then if I jump and hold left without doing anything, it doesn't, it's not going to do anything just by doing this and not moving the camera, other than making you barrel roll, essentially. Sometimes I'll even do this, I'll just hold this the whole time and I won't even barrel roll. So doing this won't make you barrel roll consistently. It's kind of a timing based thing to make you barrel roll, but you can see that doing this over and over does not actually make you really go all that much faster. What does is moving the camera. You need to move the camera in conjunction with also holding the diagonal up and left or the diagonal up and right. And you can start seeing pretty easily that when I start jumping, whether I'm barrel rolling or I'm not, And as I'm turning the camera, I'm going faster and faster. There is a certain like threshold point, like you don't want to turn the camera too fast. But if I keep turning my mouse like this, you can see my speed starts to kind of go a lot. And it's really, really cool. And then you can kind of keep making it do this over and over if you know, go back and forth, kind of in like a snake pattern. So you do a jump to the left while turning the camera, jump to the right, turn the camera, and you repeat this over and over, and you go really, really fast. And you can just chain this basically as long as you want. And this is kind of what makes scrubbing so powerful as a movement option as the Dolphin is this combination of holding up and forward and then also moving the camera steadily as you go left and to the right. Now I am doing this with mouse and keyboard, which means that I have more finer control over my camera movement, but I still need to make sure that it's smooth. So as far as I'm concerned, mouse does not necessarily have an advantage over controller, and if anything, controller actually might have an advantage over mouse, because you're able to have very consistently smooth camera turns. The smoother you turn the camera, the more speed that you get. And oftentimes, like, it's literally just turning the camera left and right and getting really used to kind of like the threshold of it. Because you don't want to turn the camera too severely. Like if I do this and I turn the camera like immediately too far to the left, then I don't like maintain any of that speed. But if I don't turn the camera enough, then I don't go that far. I only go like a little bit. So there's kind of like a middle point to jumping and then turning the camera. And then, you know, I would say like you're turning the camera by like a 45-degree angle. A lot of this stuff works best in 45-degree angles. You can even go a little bit more than 45. You can probably do something like 60 or so. But the crux of what makes the jump so fast and so consistent is not only doing these jumps back and forth like this and moving the camera as you're going through the air, but also jumping basically immediately as soon as you land back into the sand, because you do maintain your speed when you land as the Dolphin. And if you chain this over and over, then you get pretty fast pretty quick, and you're able to do this in like a lot of areas. So that's like the very kind of basics of what we, I guess, are calling advanced scrubbing. And you can also see a majority of the speed increase actually happens as you're descending. So it's not so much about your ascent, but like once you reach the apex of your jump, that's really where the camera turn and your speed really starts to come into play. You hit your max speed like as you're falling. So that's definitely important to keep in mind, especially if you're going to be jumping from higher surfaces. But if you practice doing this enough times, you'll get the hang of how much you need to turn your camera and how fast you can go if you keep chaining these jumps over and over like this. It will take a bit of practice, but it makes moving as the Dolphin so much faster, especially if you don't bonk on anything at all and you keep going as quickly as you can get some serious speed. And it's very helpful on like the straightaways in this level. So yeah, that is a very distinct point, and because we're going to be doing this specific scrubbing technique of holding diagonals like this, 45-degree angles like this, and turning the camera to be able to make our tricks and our jumps for later parts in the level to be a lot more consistent and a lot faster than doing it without using the camera to your advantage. Oh yeah, one more thing I did actually forget to mention here. Why we do barrel rolling over normal jumps and how that affects the whole scrubbing mechanics. So you can still scrub without doing a barrel roll. The thing is, if you do like that animation, or you do like the flip like that one, it's not going to give you as much of a turn radius. Like, you can still do it. You can still definitely get a good scrubbing when you have that animation play. But the thing about barrel rolling is that barrel rolling allows you to do it at a much steeper angle. So, you know how earlier I was talking about how, oh, you know, doing it at a 45-degree angle is kind of ideal, but you can go past that? Well, when you don't do the barrel roll animation, it kind of stays at a 45-degree angle as far as like how far you're turning the camera. But if you do the barrel roll, then you can go much further, and that's honestly where you gain the most speed. So if you chain the barrel roll specifically over and over, that's what allows you to have the most turn radius when doing this. But you don't have to barrel roll to scrub. You can do this without barrel rolling, and it's still pretty darn effective. Not as effective, but pretty effective. But it definitely does make a huge difference to actually do barrel rolls, so I wanted to demonstrate that real quick. I will go back to the beginning, and I will go through kind of the route that I do here, starting from here. So I tend to go to the left here. Sometimes you'll bounce off that pillar. It's not always the case, but you kind of do. I do a few here, and then I try to like land specifically there, and you can land up here immediately next, and it's really fast. And then you can go for a skip here that we have deemed middle finger skip, and it's a very weird one. I've actually never gone for it personally myself, but basically you jump onto this pillar here, and then you try to like get on the arm of the dolphin. Here, if I can go into photo mode, I can kind of show it better, of this dolphin statue. So like right here, or this arm is at, if you do a good enough scrub technique, you can technically land right here and make it over this entire wall right here without having to activate these lanterns and have the jellyfish come up. It saves a few seconds, but it's very, very difficult to pull off, let alone consistently. But with the advanced scrubbing technique, there is a lot more consistency to it, where the reason we called it middle finger skip is because beforehand we were actually aiming specifically for the actual, basically the middle finger or the like fist of the statue to jump off of, which is an extremely small hitbox or hurtbox or platform basically to actually land there and make it over. And that was borderline like you only were hitting that maybe like 1% of the time kind of thing. It's a very, very low success rate. Even the best players were struggling with it. So that's why if you watch like Newt's tutorial, he says there is no skip here. We don't talk about this skip because it's been notoriously difficult. But yeah, with good scrubbing, you can actually make that more consistently. I'll try it like one more time. It's hard, so I don't go for that. But if you want to go for that and try to land there, you definitely can. Otherwise, I just activate these lanterns, and then I just go up the jellyfish here. You can actually hit an early jellyfish there, and like that saves you a little bit of time. But typically, I hit 2 jellyfish and then go over here. So in this section, I again do a jump, do a scrub to the left, and then to the right, and then I'm already to where these lanterns are. There is another trick here that people have gone for as well, and it's called Bicep Skip, because we kind of do the same thing. We go onto the bicep of that statue right there, and this one is a lot easier to hit, but obviously it does not save time if you miss it once. It's a one and done kind of thing, otherwise you're going to lose a bit of time, but it does save, again, a little bit, because you don't have to activate the lanterns and then wait for the jellyfish cutscene to play out. But I basically never go for it because I'm just always of the opinion that it's basically a time loss. But this is another small optimization that you can do to... I'm not even like... These attempts aren't even very good right now, but I do believe the The camera kind of forces you in a way. I noticed it like when you get kind of close in this area, the camera literally changes to make you look in that direction. So it kind of gets weird to do this one. Like I didn't even notice that like the camera actually gets forced. So you can't like do the normal scrubbing that you would do to make that. So it's a different setup entirely to make it. But it is a skip. Yeah, see, I can't even do it. Because, again, I don't practice this at all. So what I do is I just light these lanterns. And during this cutscene, you can move, so you can land on these jellyfish. I do one, like, quick scrub to get over to this jellyfish, and then we get up into here. So there's a lot to talk about with this room, because this room can go a lot of different ways, and this is definitely where the most time loss can happen at the very beginning of the chapter. So we start by going over to this corner right here. We shove basically, I wonder if I can even like see in photo mode. We shove the dolphin's like nose basically into the corner here. And pretty much what we do is we just hold up and to the right and we jump. And we call this kickflip because I'm not sure why. It's not exactly a trick, but if you do that, you hit the geometry in there, and it seems like it's kind of random. But I've found that if I hold up and to the left when doing this and keep my camera at level, I'm able to hit this pretty consistently. Sometimes you'll hit an instance where you'll like not quite make it, and then you might want to like straighten out a little bit or like push into the corner. Like you can see the dolphin silhouette a little bit through the sand. So you don't have to go all the way back out and do this if you are having struggles with it. But like if you feel more confident in doing that, you can. It just does lose you a little bit of time. But ideally, as long as you hold directly into this corner here, up and left like this, you'll pretty much get this first try every single time. Like I don't think I've even like missed it, like maybe once. But that's like the first kind of major thing, because I know I'll see people, I think they like hold forward or something only, and like that can give you like an early bounce, and then you'll get like a second bounce like that, and like even that like still is fine for the most part, but sometimes you'll just get literally nothing. I think also holding jump helps too, because I think another thing people might be doing is they just jump once, and like it might do it, but it might not. So I think for the sake of consistency, holding up and left and holding jump when you're doing this makes it a bit more consistent. It makes it very consistent for me. So maybe your mileage might vary. I know on controller, holding this up, I don't know if changing the angle like as you're doing it on controller is all that different, but yeah, I'm able to get kickflip basically every single time here. So that's kind of the main thing here. So once you get kickflip, there's a couple different routes that you can kind of take to get to this crystal over here. So when I do kickflip, first I'm going to do the safe route, assuming I'm only holding forward. So you can land on that platform right there, this one. If you're not using like advanced scrubbing and you're not like confident in actually reaching all the way over there, then it's best to just like, you know, hold forward. You don't need to worry about holding at an angle. You can just keep holding forward the entire time. But you have to be a bit careful, because sometimes when you do this and you reach the top, you don't actually like fall down far enough to gain speed. To gain enough speed to make it over to this. Like, so if it's really shallow like this, like it can make it, but your speed here is really slow. And only holding forward there is going to make it a lot more difficult. So I'll hold forward again. I can move my camera, but I'm still like bonking off the left wall there. So you do at some point have to hold left or right to make this more consistent to go to the next part. So here I hold a little bit left. Like I even overshot it because I was doing the scrubbing technique and went over it. But Like, if you want to try to play it safe like this, you can do it like this. Yeah, I overshot it because I don't normally go for that pillar, but it is very safe to do, and it's slow, and it does not set you up for the next stuff very easily, but it is safe. Like, you can even like tap a little bit over and over to like make your like small adjustments if you're on keyboard, and then if you're on like controller, you can probably just obviously instead of like tapping it over and over on the control stick, maybe you just like lightly tilt it to make it work. I think that can work pretty well. But so yeah, you can aim for that one, and then you can land on the crystal like I did right there. And that's just like the first way to kind of do this section. The second way, and the way that I go for, is I actually don't go for that pillar, the one with the black top on it. I actually go like this. But you can see how like I swing really far that way. So, and then because of how much speed and momentum I get once I land up there, I actually get a lot of speed to pretty much make it all the way to the crystal. So if I keep practicing this over and over, technically speaking, I can make it all the way to that crystal without touching the ground in one single jump. So yeah, essentially that's kind of what you're doing right there, is you're kind of trying to aim to land on that specific spot. Now, I will admit, when the crystal's going, or when you hit the crystal, you have a bit of slow-mo time to actually be able to shift your inputs at will, but we call that double crystal, where going from there all the way to that crystal, you can actually hit that crystal with a really good scrub, but it's blind during the cutscene. But essentially what I do is I move my mouse like steadily but slowly to the left as I'm doing it, so like this, but I mean, you kind of can't see the mouse movement that well in the input display, but I do move it a bit to the left. So if you're on a controller, you can like tilt it just like maybe like a third or halfway to be able to get that, but you're doing it blind, so you're kind of just hoping that it works to be able to do that. But even if you land on that like step right here, it's still fine. So let me try to demonstrate this in a with the crystal actually being there. So we hit the crystal, it goes into slow-mo, and then I just hold up left and turn to left, and bam, there we go. I got double crystal. Just like that. You're doing it in completely blind, but that's essentially how double crystal works. That is the fastest way to do this room. Easily. You save a bunch of time by making that jump all the way from there to here during the crystal activation cutscene. It's pretty sick. I'm not gonna lie. So when you're going this slow from hitting that pillar, and I try to do the exact same thing for double crystal skip, you end up kind of hitting this sand wall here, and then you're actually like pretty far away from making it all the way over there. So obviously if you end up over here, you would just jump onto these crystals, and then you would jump up to that crystal there, and like that's slow, but at least it's like consistent. Like the main thing is you want to not like fall down once you get up there from the kickflip. So yeah, let me see if I go over this way. So I don't make double crystal, but I'm pretty close to where it is. And so then when you hit this crystal, you'll land up on that area, and then you can move during this cutscene and go up the geyser while that cutscene is playing. And I like to spam chirp so that I can actually like see where the dolphin is, because sometimes you might like not know exactly where you are, and you don't see yourself immediately. You don't see the dolphin in that cutscene. So it's a good idea to have stereo audio. Like if you're wearing headphones, you can hear if the dolphin's to the left or to the right and navigate it that way. But being able to move during that cutscene is very useful. So when you get up to here, doing scrubs going up this way is still pretty fast. And then you want to do like a big jump there, and then you want to go all the way down that way, like this. You can do this in 4 scrubs, but I just do 3 because what you don't want to do is you don't want to bonk. You get a lot of speed from doing scrubbing up a hill like this, so it is still better to do this instead of jumping. In fact, it's actually really good to do it because you land sooner and you're able to jump more and continue doing the scrub up the hill. So yeah, if you bonk here and then you have to jump, then your subsequent jumps are going to feel really, really kind of sluggish from this point on. And it's not very good, unfortunately. So when you're going down this long area here, it's definitely important, especially at the very, very top here, that if you're going to do scrubs, like you should, like if you want to go fast, doing scrubs on the way up here, it is very important that you don't bonk off of this wall, which is why it might be helpful to go off of there. And that can definitely help you get down here really, really quickly, because if you can get like 2 more jumps all the way to where these lanterns are, then that's pretty darn fast. It also helps a lot that this kind of sand dune is pretty much always present in some way, and you can kind of use it as like a ramp of sorts. So just like that. Like that is pretty much, that's the idea of how fast you go there. And then when you activate these lanterns and these jellyfish, it's actually, I think it is most optimal to jump into the jellyfish right before hitting it, because I think it's not so much about it helps you get over quickly as much as when you land in the water on the other side, you're still going, you don't lose a lot of more forward speed. Like you see how much speed I get when I land? I think the little jump that I do into the jellyfish definitely like helps. Like I'm still going pretty fast. That was a really high jump that ended up like bonking and not looking very good, but like you can still do it there, and I do it on these as well. So, you know, small optimizations to make you go faster, especially for the jellyfish area. You can also do a fancy trick, fancy maneuvering to not touch the top row of jellyfish. But sometimes it's slower, honestly. And sometimes, like, the hitboxes of these jellyfish is really, really big. Like, you can very easily hit these even when you're trying to not. But I also kind of don't like trying to avoid them entirely, because I think it's overall still kind of slow. That one's pretty fast. If you can get that consistently, then yeah, that would definitely help. That would benefit you a lot. But most of the time I feel like you're gonna just hit both jellyfish and it's fine. So, alright. This is the most important part of Forbidden Valley in terms of the regular route, and it is this skip here, which we call right side dolphin. You can't really see it through the haze here, but I'm trying to show that we're trying to aim. We're going over this, and we aim all the way over to that right side there. Now, doing that, obviously, is a bit difficult, and I want to break down the different ways to actually do right side dolphin. Here we are at right side dolphin, and there are 2 main ways to do this. And one is kind of the more beginner-friendly way to do it, and then the other one will be the bit more advanced but faster way to do it. So, the first way to do it is to actually jump somewhere around, I want to say, this small flag right here. This is a pretty good rough area. It depends a lot on your speed coming in this area, but basically if you jump here, you can land on this platform right here and then be able to make it that way. And the important thing is if you go for it this way, you want to make sure that you maybe undershoot it just a bit, because if you barely don't make it, then at least you can go back here and just simply try again real quick. Whereas if you don't, then you won't make it. But you see here, if I do a good scrub, I'm able to make it all the way over here pretty easily. Oh, so this, if you like hold forward only, you don't make it. So you definitely need to scrub here. So if you like kind of go left and then swing around to the right, straight like that, and then swing around to the right, then you're able to make it pretty cleanly here. Like you wanna do a good enough of a scrub where you land well past that over there. All right, so I want to talk about a few caveats of landing on this platform right here that make it a bit inconsistent and sometimes very weird, and usually not like reliable for me, especially because like I used to use this platform literally every single time until I went over the next method that I'll go over here in a bit. But I kind of want to talk first for a moment about landing on this platform like this. So first of all, actually landing on it is not always guaranteed. If you have the Dolphin land at the very like corner of the edge, like maybe even right before it, there's a chance that it will not register as you actually hitting the ground, and what will happen is you will slide across this entire part and just fall down here like normal, and you will never actually land up here. And I call that a no reg, which is short for no registration, which just basically means the hit detection of actually landing on the platform just never happens. It like skips it entirely. And I see that it's happened to a couple of folks, and then I get really confused on why it happens. But I do believe it's because you're hitting the very, very edge of this wall, like really, really like too far back to where the actual Dolphin's like landing hitbox never actually touches this platform. So you can just get completely screwed over, even though it looks like you're about to land on it perfectly fine. Hell, sometimes you can land like square right in the middle on it, and it doesn't actually like allow you to bounce off of it. So that can just happen, and you can't do anything about that. It's like almost virtually RNG. The second thing that you'll want to keep in mind when bouncing off this platform, I don't know if holding jump, because I do spacebar for jump. I don't know if holding jump when you land on a platform does this, but there's times when I land on this specific platform and the animation that plays of the Dolphin bouncing off of this, it does like a slow-mo. It like starts the slow-mo part of the cutscene panning like really, really early for some reason, because maybe I'm like pretty far forward and the slow-mo triggers like right here. Essentially it's like this entire section, and that loses you a little bit of time. It doesn't make actually performing RSD harder. It just it makes it, you lose a little bit of time kind of arbitrarily just based on the length of the animation when the Dolphin actually lands. Sometimes you get a quick landing and sometimes you get a very slow landing from hitting the slow-mo trigger, and I don't know how or why exactly that happens, but that's another like slight caveat to landing on this platform, with the benefit of landing on it obviously being that you have a bit more room, I guess, and you can kind of you jump higher, and therefore you can do a scrub farther to actually land over to this other side and make it past the invisible wall that's right here, because there is a bit of an invisible wall. That's why you don't want to go straight directly from here immediately to the right. You want to go off kind of straight this way, and then when you reach kind of the apex, then you start scrubbing or holding, up and left and turning the camera as you're falling so that you land very squarely in the sand down here and then can jump up to this crystal here. So, but because of those caveats with using this platform, you can find yourself with some inconsistencies. There's also, if you feel like you're about to overshoot your jump and you're going to barely go right over it, and you press back a tiny little bit, or you hold back a little bit to try to slow you down, that can actually still prevent you from being able to make it there, because you do still need forward speed coming off of this platform to actually get the distance to make it there very cleanly. So if you press back to be able to even land on the platform, you then jumping forward might not have enough speed to make it, and you'll probably just fall down that way. So again, that's kind of another caveat to using this platform here that makes it a bit less consistent than at least I desire. But if you're not particularly strong at doing the scrubbing technique, like I mentioned before, then this is kind of what you're just going to have to do for a while until you get very, very comfortable with actually doing the scrubbing. See, even then from the pause, I can still do it from there. All right, so for the next way to do right side dolphin, this is what I dub the Rivals method, because in the very beginning, Rivals, one of the French runners of the game, actually ended up finding this kind of skip himself, where pretty much what he did is he just held forward here and he jumped as late as possible, and then he just held in this direction and he was able to make it. Doing it like the way that I just did obviously doesn't quite work. I even did the correct scrubbing where, I hold up and left and I turned my camera, and it didn't work very well. So how come I didn't make it? Well, definitely barrel rolling will help a lot. So instead of doing what I did just there to show kind of what we were doing at the very beginning without the scrubbing, let me kind of show you instead what I do when I reach this part. So it's the same principle. I go at this at full speed and I jump right before I'm about to get to the platform, so I jump right over it, but I aim a little bit to the left first, and then I do this big curve all the way to the right side, and I make it all the way there. And I do a barrel roll. Actually, sometimes you don't even need to do a barrel roll, but I can make it all the way that way. I only just barely made it that way, but you can make it that way with a good enough scrub. Boom. Right straight to the crystal, just like that, from landing on that platform. That's ideal. If you can do it like that in one swift motion, that is the fastest way to do right side dolphin. And so from getting the crystal here, now you're gonna want to jump forward and land on that specific platform there. That jump can be a little bit tricky because you might think that you need to scrub for this, but here's what happens if you do. You can very easily overshoot it. So instead I recommend just holding W and then doing a scrub at the very last second, or holding up and to the right and getting there that way. So now we're over here at this part of the room. So you want to swim up to here, and then essentially you want to do a jump where when you touch the crystal on this platform here, you're trying to get as far to the middle as you possibly can. Because the moment that you touch the crystal and the cutscene plays, the dolphin kind of bounces freeform during that cutscene, and to save as much time as possible, you want to be coming down from this right here to where the sand is right here instead of bouncing up continuously. So if I keep holding forward here, I have already landed here in this water, and so then I can immediately go to this crystal over here. And what's nice about going for this crystal is that when I leave this edge, the coyote time on the Dolphin is actually extremely lenient. It's way more lenient than even the Wraith has it for. So you can like literally wait like half a whole second and then still be able to jump with the Dolphin, which is pretty crazy to think about. But in this jump from here all the way to this crystal, I'm still going to jump a bit to the left, and then as I'm descending, I'm going to scrub and move to the right. And what I'm going to try to do is hit the very top of the crystal, and I'm trying to hit the very, very edge of this right here, whether I get a bounce or I get a slight slide off. But you want to try to come at this at an angle and cut it as close as you can in one single jump and land on that very edge or just past it. So here I landed just past the crystals and all that. So when this cutscene plays, if I just hold the left, then I get into the cutscene pretty much immediately here. And it's like not far. But sometimes you might get stuck in this corner up here. You might go like really far into this corner, and if you aren't exactly sure where you're gonna end up, and like holding to the left is gonna be a bit slow, while the Geyser cutscene's going on, you can just spam jump so that the moment you can hold up and right and spam jump so that the moment that you are actionable, you can just jump over like this way and then get into the Geyser. This is how high up you can hit the crystal, by the way, going at this specific angle. But basically when this happens, I'm trying to land as close to this edge, if not basically sliding off of it as much as I can, because what I'm wanting to do is if I bounce here and I can keep moving a bit when this final Geyser cutscene plays, the hope is that the momentum from jumping off of here can carry me just close enough to the Geyser, which is like right around here or so, where it actually can suck me into the Geyser, because you can't move during this Geyser cutscene, unlike the previous one where the double crystal room was. You can't move during this one, so you need to be already in position when it happens. But I've hit it once before by having a bit of a slide off happen on this edge, and it pushed me right here, pretty much next to where the Geyser was going to be. And because of that, it saves you like a few seconds, actually, because then you don't have to move the Dolphin to get into the Geyser. You just get it during that cutscene playing. So that's a bit of time save right there. Whatever. I don't lose much time from that. Oh, I can do the slide off too. That was kind of hype. Wait, what? And this section's pretty easy. You just simply hold up and to the left the entire time. Because as you can see my speedometer, it says 450 kilometers. If I only hold left, it goes down to 430 or 440 or so. So if you hold up, it takes a bit, but it does get you back to that speed. And this is the fastest way to go through this area. Jumping constantly is actually slower. Basically any other form besides that is going to be a bit too slow. So right here, once I get to very specifically this rock face right here, this is where I like to do a jump so that when the camera pans down or just goes at the different like downward angle looking up at the sandfall, the Dolphin's already in the air and is falling down through the sandfall as basically as quickly as possible. And I use this little rock ramp right here as like my visual cue. So basically, pretty much once I'm about to cross it, this is where I jump. And I go right through it just like that. Then you do a couple scrubs here, and then you can do... There is a way, and I haven't found the consistency for it yet, but there's a way you can do like the scrubs to do a jump that goes all the way up to that crystal in one bound. But I am not exactly sure if it's like dependent on the waves or having a better scrub or something. But like, it's kind of difficult to do. I was thinking maybe you can use this bottom like plateau part as like a ramp or something before you get there, but I mean, it saves like a second and a half or so. It's not that much faster, but if you want to like look cool, you can try going for it, but it's like some weird thing in the sand that allows you to do it, and having enough actual speed to be able to get all the way up there. Oh, sick. Otherwise, it's better to just go up both steps and just hit that crystal. And I do one big scrub jump here to this geyser. Now, an important part about this last geyser right here, when you get launched like this, you can make the dolphin consistently go right directly to the geyser without actually really having to swim towards it. And the way that I do this is I only hold to the right. I hold right the entire time, and I make sure I keep my camera as steady as possible. You can do this from holding the camera up at an angle and you're kind of going a little bit blind that way, or you can have the camera going down. But I think as long as you try to keep the camera still and facing the same direction, all you need to do is hold right. Yeah, there we go, just like that. Yeah, you can even do it aiming down the camera. But I want to also demonstrate what happens if you only hold to the right and you don't do anything with the camera. You go right past it. So you do need to hold the camera kind of in place. You can't just hold to the right. It will not work. Let me just scrub here. Yeah, see, I land super far away. Even though I was, like, aiming the camera and, like, holding forward and to the right, I just, like, shot way past the geyser. So you want to make sure you're just holding to the right side and you keep the camera still, whether you're facing it up or you're facing it down. But that's pretty much it. That is the entirety of Forbidden Valley. So the current world record for Forbidden Valley is a 3:39 that is held by Zane. But I can imagine that if we go for every single trick and we hit every single thing that I mentioned in this video first try, that it can actually probably get quite a little bit lower than that. We might even see a sub 330 at some point in the future for this IL. But yeah, that is how to do Forbidden Valley. I hope you learned something and you enjoyed. I'll see you next time.